Johnny Depp was spending $360 grand a year on wine bottles, while Nicolas Cage's bankruptcy included 9 Rolls Royces and his own private island. However, there are a few actor bankruptcies stranger than Kim Basinger's, who thought it was smart to pay $20 million for an entire country town. Braselton, Georgia had only 2 shops and 500 local residents, one of which describing the town by stating breading chicken is about the most exciting thing we do around here, which made the reason for Kim's purchase even more stupid. She planned on turning the town into a Hollywood tourist attraction by building a major film and recording studio with the added bonus of a theme park, homes and shopping centers at a time when Braselton's economic conditions were so atrocious. Another local resident stated, "If we talk about the economy, everybody gets depressed." Given the real Hollywood was on the other side of the country, it's no surprise that the project failed, forcing Kim to resell the town for $4.3 million, locking in a $15.7 million loss and the alienation of her entire family who'd also bought into the project. The stress from the town's failure then caused Kim to pull out of a movie she was starring in, prompting the producers to successfully sue her for $8.9 million, which Kim couldn't pay.
You had to declare bankruptcy. You made everything and then lost everything.
Lost everything. Every single thing.
But at least Kim Basinger still had her freedom, as Wesley Snipes' bankruptcy was so brutal, it also put him in prison. He'd earned over $50 million from a range of different roles, although despite purchasing an Aston Martin Vanquish, as well as mansions in both Florida and New Jersey, Wesley refused to lodge a single tax return over a 7-year period, and was therefore ordered to pay the IRS $23.5 million. Wesley tried to wiggle his way out of paying by making the strange claim that he was a non-resident alien of the United States despite being born there.
He knew he had to pay the taxes. He was just trying to find ways to avoid them.
Although things got a whole lot weirder when Snipes declared he had no taxable US income, making the IRS Form 1040 absolutely the wrong form for me to file. He also claimed taxes withheld were stolen funds, whilst adding the IRS deceives people to terrorize, enslave, rape, or pillage taxpayers. Although confronting the IRS was a very stupid strategy, as Wesley was immediately charged with 6 counts of willfully failing to file federal income tax returns, for which he was given a federal prison sentence.
Wesley Snipes gets 3 years behind bars.
In 2018, 5 years after being released from prison, Wesley Snipes still hadn't paid $1 toward his tax bill and would try to settle the $23.5 million debt by instead offering the IRS $842,000, which they understandably rejected. Wesley then tried arguing economic hardship, but the court said no to that too, instead dropping his tax bill to $9.5 million, which it seems he hasn't paid either. Avoiding a tax bill for 15 years might almost make him a genius. However, when Heidi Montag blew through $10 million, there was zero intelligence anywhere. Reality television was the source of her wealth, appearing in The Hills, Big Brother, and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Outta Here, although when these types of shows completely disappeared, Heidi instead began recording music, spending $2 million on her very first album. She'd state, "I put every dollar I have into this. I've spent over $1 million, almost $2 million on this album. It's cost as much or more than a Britney Spears album because I wanted it to be that quality. The songs will make an impact in pop history. It sold only 1,000 copies." In case losing $2 million on a worthless album wasn't bad enough, she'd talk about her daily life by stating, "Every time we'd go out to eat, we'd order $4,000 bottles of wine. Heidi was going to the mall and dropping $20,000 to $30,000 a day. We thought we were Jay-Z and Beyonce. Heidi's outrageous spending was justified because we heard that the planet was going to end in 2012. We thought we have to spend this money before the asteroid hits, although the peak of her stupidity was still yet to come. With the money running low, Heidi faked a divorce with her husband, who explained the split was designed to create fresh interest in his wife for a potential British TV project. Divorcing was the only way to keep Heidi's career going, although this failed to do anything. Heidi Montag had to lose every penny before finally learning her lesson.
We live too in the moment. People say live in the moment. Well, we did. We didn't really think about our futures.
All of which could have easily been learned by researching Nicolas Cage. National Treasure had brought his net worth to $150 million, prompting him to spend $25 million on a waterfront primary residence, although Nick also felt the need to buy a holiday home. He'd therefore spend a further $15 million on a Rhode Island countryside mansion, also picking picking up an $8.5 million apartment for his weekends away in Las Vegas. But what about his weekends in the Bahamas? Well, for that he'd drop $3 million on his own private island, but this didn't do anything for his trips to Europe, for which he'd spend a further $12.3 million on 2 medieval castles, where he'd spend huge sums on enormous Gatsby-style parties. By 2007, Nicolas Cage had bought 15 different houses, where he'd keep his 26 different vehicles, including 4 yachts, 9 Rolls Royces, and a nearly $3 million vintage Bugatti. Although this wasn't as old as his $276,000 dinosaur skull, kept next to a bookshelf holding a $150,000 Superman comic. Throughout the houses lived a $150,000 pet octopus, an $80,000 two-headed snake, and a pair of albino king cobras that set him back $150,000. To add a cherry on top of the cake, Nick purchased his own extravagant gravesite for a price of $40,000, finally concluding his crazy spending spree just months before the global financial crisis.
The real estate market crashed and I couldn't get out in time.
At around the same time, he began receiving fewer high-paying roles, and with 6 different loans on his Bel Air mansion, plus mortgages on every other property, Nicolas Cage was headed toward bankruptcy. By 2009, he owed a further $6.2 million in unpaid taxes, forcing him to sell almost everything, most of which at a loss. His $15 million Rhode Island mansion resold for $9.5 million, while his $276,000 dinosaur skull was taken by the government after they discovered it was originally stolen.
When the Mongolian government said that they needed it back, I gave it to them, but I never got my money back.
Nick launched a $20 million lawsuit against his former manager, stating, Cage discovered that he is now forced to sell major assets and investments at a significant loss and is faced with huge tax liabilities, although his manager clapped back by claiming he advised Cage against buying a Gulfstream jet, against buying and owning a flotilla of yachts, against buying and owning a squadron of Rolls Royces, and against buying millions of dollars in jewelry and art. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed as ridiculous, forcing Nick to take on low-quality acting roles purely to avoid bankruptcy.
It may not have been blue chip, but it would still work.
When asked how much has money driven your work choices, Nick stated there are times when it's more of a factor than not, before adding, I had this pride thing where I wanted to work my way through anything, which Nicolas Cage has since done quite successfully, unlike Randy Quaid, who gave up Hollywood to chase conspiracy, bankruptcy, and all-round insanity. I'm back! By appearing in Independence Day, Brokeback Mountain, and every National Lampoon movie, Randy Quaid became a multi-millionaire.
I have earned approximately $40 million throughout my career.
However, despite winning a Golden Globe and being nominated for an Oscar, Randy's career came to a screeching halt halfway through 2009. Why? Well, it began after he and his wife were arrested for trying to use a fake card to pay a $10,000 hotel bill, after which both refused to appear in court. After the case eventually settled, Randy and his wife were once again arrested, this time for squatting inside a vacant house they'd previously owned. However, things only got weirder from here. Randy and his wife began to claim they were being chased by a group called Starwhackers who were trying to kill Hollywood celebrities.
How many people do you know personally who have died suddenly and mysteriously in the past 5 years?
While also claiming the group was somehow controlling their finances.
If things keep going the way they are, and we don't do something about it to expose these people, my wife and I will be out on the street. And we'll have nothing to eat. Okay, that's how bad it is.
As a solution, Randy fled to Canada, where he'd begin to upload his conspiracies to YouTube.
A day of reckoning is nigh. Wake up!
After which he was arrested for a 3rd time whilst trying to sneak back into America.
The Oscar-nominated actor and his wife in jail this morning after being arrested at the Canadian border in Vermont.
Exactly where Randy's $40 million went isn't entirely clear. However, Kelly Rutherford has been extremely open about how she spent her fortune on lawyers. After gaining international stardom for appearing in Gossip Girl, Kelly had 2 kids with a German man who wasn't a US citizen. The couple divorced in 2009 and began to argue about custody, with a judge ruling the kid should live with their father in Europe, as he wasn't permitted to return to America.
Because he can't come into the US, the children have to be in now France, Yes.
The situation was so strange and unique, Kelly spent every penny she had trying to regain custody.
It's cost you, what, about $2.5 million already?
It's cost me everything I've ever made, my everything.
And as a result, she filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy midway through the court case, having assets worth only $24,000 compared to liabilities totaling $2 million. On top of this, Kelly owed more than $350,000 in back taxes, $25,000 in Amex charges, and had a monthly income of just under $1,300, although despite spending everything she'd ever earned, her efforts failed to impact the court's final choice.
Gossip Girl star Kelly Rutherford stunned and fighting back tears after losing a bitter custody battle today in New York Supreme Court.
Kelly's spending was out of complete necessity, whereas Johnny Depp spending $650 million was nothing but complete stupidity. In 2012, he was listed as the world's highest paid actor by the Guinness Book of Records, although despite earning $900 million over a 13-year period, he spent the money so poorly Conan O'Brien joked that he must have gotten financial advice from Nicolas Cage. Similar to Cage, Depp purchased 14 different properties, including his own Bahamian private island, multiple countryside mansions, and a $60 million village in France, although it was Johnny Depp's day-to-day expenses that might have been even crazier. A 2017 lawsuit revealed he was burning $2 million a month on $200,000 for a private jet, $150,000 on security for himself and his family, $300,000 on staff including 40 full-time employees, and $30,000 on wine, which was confirmed during his trial with Amber Heard. However, Johnny Depp's craziest purchase was when he spent $3 million on his friend Hunter S. Thompson's funeral by firing his ashes out of a rocket-like cannon. Just like Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp tried to sue his management company TMG, although they'd respond with their own lawsuit stating Depp chose time and again to ignore TMG and all of his other advisors. Depp truly has no one but himself to blame for his current financial and personal circumstances.